Shalom. So in this video, we're going to talk about Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 32, which says, "But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding." Right? So we're going to look at this in three different ways. Right? The first is going to be how a man turns a woman's grief into an opportunity for sex. Right? The second one is that giving of a listening ear, which usually ends up in the same thing, adultery. And the third, which is the worst, is when a man allows himself to be used as a tool of revenge against her husband. I say this one is the worst because most of these cases is where either the woman ends up getting pregnant, right, in that revenge sex, or the guy she goes and have sex with is either delusional, is obsessive, is abusive, or something of that sort, meaning he's gonna cause some problem back in her home. He's gonna either start showing up at her workplace, he's gonna think that they're in this relationship and the husband is just whatever. Some crazy guy, most of the times. So this is the worst of them all. It carries a weightier judgment. And I'm talking about things that I know about, speaking from people's experience that I'm come in contact with, right? Now, before we get into these three areas, we're going to talk about also what is adultery for a man, because I see a lot of people do not understand, and the only thing some of us use is Leviticus 20 and verse 10, which we're going to go there. So this is the book of Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10. It says, "And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death." So here we're seeing that a man that has sex with a woman that is married or promised to someone, right? That case is adultery, but is that the only case? No. What we fail to understand is that the replacing of a wife with another wife is an act of adultery. And a lot of people, you'll hear them say, "Oh, I want a woman to replace this woman at my home and this and that." And that is also adultery for a man. There's nowhere in the law that permits a man to replace a woman with another woman. And this also is a problem for people getting into relationship with people who are either dealing with the divorce, it's not completed, but they're trying to get into a relationship because they say they are separated and they're waiting for the divorce to come through. Well, the problem with that is a lot of times when two people are together for a period of time, it's like they're no longer aware of how they are really feeling about the person they're involved with. And so they think that anything apart from this relationship must be better. So now they're dealing with the breakup. Guess what? Few months, it's still early. It's still early. They don't know, right? But what happens is over a period of time when reality starts to come in, they're understanding that, hey, I'm missing her arguing, her being miserable. I'm missing him telling me, okay, don't wear that, that looks more appropriate. Or they're realizing now that, oh, this feeling without the person is not better at all. So you'll find that after maybe 9 months, guess what? They call to their senses and they want to go back. Now the problem is they already started something with somebody else. So now you're caught in that crossfire because which is really going to be stronger? This new love new love, or something that they had for so long and the residue has been there, but they're just realizing how strong it is. So it's like the iceberg above the water. You're just seeing that little piece here. This is what you're aware of. But beneath the surface, this is something firm. This residue is hard to get rid of. So now they're realizing that, oh, this person is the person I need to be with. I need to go back and reconcile relationship with my wife or my husband. And you who think you're just gonna be this new replacement, you're the one that ends up getting the shitty end of the stick. So let us look into number one, which is turning turning a person's grief into opportunity. So this woman is going through the mourning, the loss of a parent, a child, a sibling, a good friend, a pet. Maybe she's losing her business, and her business is what you know that would keep her home afloat, right? Maintaining the home and so forth. So she's in this state of frustration. She's not thinking clearly. No, she bumped into you, whichever way she bumps into you, whether she knew you before or whatever the case is. But you can see she's in a state of frustration. You're giving her comforting words. You're giving her reassurance that everything will be okay. You're giving her that hug that she so desperately needs. Now she starts to mistake everything, not thinking straight, forgets that she has her husband and the guy that she's with now is not the husband. You know you are not her husband because you know the husband is at home. But you took that opportunity when you know that she is vulnerable and she does not have the mental strength to discern or to tell you no. And sometimes she will even say no after two or three times, but she's so weak that she eventually gives in. And then the sex happens. So a lot of times adultery is committed. It's through this instance where somebody manipulated somebody's grief or loss. Now the second one is giving a listening ear. We have to understand the nature of women, right? And listening carries a completely different meaning for a woman as for a man. When we say a woman is not listening, we mean that she's not obeying what we're saying. She's not doing what we're saying. That is listening for us. Listening, on the other hand, for the woman is totally different. It means validate my feelings. Doesn't matter whether the feeling is wrong or right. Listening for the woman means validate my feelings. Now, how this ends up in adultery, this is the problem. When she starts to complain that her husband is not listening, no matter how much she's trying to tell him about how this marker is affecting her, it's not that the guy is not listening, but the guy is just trying to say, okay, but I have to put these markers together and I have to keep them here. And right? She doesn't want to hear about how you're going to fix it. She wants you to understand that this is affecting her. Don't try to change the fact that it's affecting her. Don't try to find a solution to solve the problem because in finding a solution, that is considered invalidating her feelings. So now when she goes over here because she's tired of now saying the same thing to you, and as much as you're listening, on her end, you're not listening. So now she comes over to this guy and start telling him how the marker is affecting him, affecting her, right? Guess what? This guy is not in a relationship with her. So this guy doesn't need her to change her interpretation about the marker. So the guy is only listening, not trying to find a solution, nothing. He's just listening. He's just there. Say, yes, I understand how you feel, and I'm sorry to hear that, and I can imagine how awful this must be for you to say it over and over, and nothing is changing, right? So she interprets that as validating her feelings. So the nature of the woman is to build trust and relationships. Now, these conversations for her, regardless of what she thinks, is developing a sense of trust and a sense of relationship. Now, she what? She thinks she finds someone who is finally listening to her. Misinterpreted, she mistakes that for a relationship. She mistakes that for someone she truly trusts. And then the red line is crossed. How do you go back and face your husband? Just like you tell him about how this has been affecting you. Do you now go back and tell your husband that you were talking to a guy and he was so much of a listener and you end up having sex? No, you don't do that. No, you conceal that matter, right? Now, from the standpoint of the man that you committed the adultery, this is the problem. He hears you talking about how your husband is not listening. That's the first thing that he should have done is stop you in that track. Go and get your husband, just like the Messiah said to the woman at the well. Woman, go and get your husband, and let's talk about the marker. Don't tell me about your husband in his absence. Don't tell me about your husband if he doesn't approve, meaning your husband know that, okay, we're talking, we're dealing with this matter at hand, right? So it's just like me when I speak with women. Their husband have to understand the relationship with the woman and myself, right? So whenever we're talking, if the husband is there, we also greet each other so he knows exactly what everything is about. There's nothing hidden, nothing done in secret. What happens is that a lot of people who are taking up this office of a counselor, on YouTube, they call themselves relationship coach and whatever they call themselves. At the end of the day, a lot of them are still doing the same thing. Because when they listen to a woman's problem, they don't need the woman to make any changes because they're not dealing with the problem that the woman comes with. The man in the womb is the one dealing with the problem. So it is necessary for the man if the woman should make a certain change so that this marker would not be affecting her anymore. As opposed to listening to a man that your behavior is not affecting. So you create a bigger problem than the original problem that you thought you had here. A lot of psychologists and those type of people are losing their license because of the same thing, sleeping with their clients. Once you're listening to a woman's problem and you understand that she has a man, you have to now know what you're going to do about the situation. That's the first thing. If you're meeting her in person, where are you meeting up? Because where you're meeting up says a lot about your sessions. How do you interact with each other? You're giving her comforting words. You start to take her by the hand. You start to give a pat on the shoulder. She's not reacting. She's not going to shun you. Those are clear signs already. So what's happened? You find yourself now inclining your heart to this woman because you're saying in your head, your interpretation in your head is that I placed my hand on her shoulder and she did not budge. That means she wants it. No, you want it. Oh, you held her by the hand and she did not do anything. She must wants me. No, you want it. Your heart is inclined to her. But however, the woman is still to be blamed for putting herself in this position, speaking against her about her husband, against his approval. That's a lack of respect. Now you want to vent and you go and have a drink with another man. What do you hope to accomplish having a drink, gossiping about your husband, absent his approval? You see, if you were to be in a relationship with the man that you committed the adultery with, you know what? You'll be having the same problems. Because what you don't understand is that a lot of times what these people say to you is because they're not in a relationship with you. So they're not being affected by your behavior. But had they been in the same position, they would be doing the same thing that your husband is trying to do, which is to find a solution to the problem so that peace can reign. What you don't understand is how much seeking validation for your feelings from other men, how it is detrimental to your relationship, to your home, to your family. If you want a listening ear as a woman, find solace in the company of your own gender. Women you know that are respectable, women that respect their husbands and so forth, right? In proper company, and you let it all out. Why do you think you need to go to another man, especially when you are in a vulnerable position mentally? If that listening ear that you were going to was so legitimate, why wouldn't you say to your husband, okay, I'm going to meet with so and so at such and such place for about an hour, if it was so legitimate? Because if you were going to see a doctor, you're going to say, honey, I have a doctor's appointment. Remember, today's my doctor's appointment, my optical appointment, or the meeting at the school with the teachers, with the teachers. You would have said it because it's neutral. But with this listening ear, you already know there's a hidden intent, regardless of what you think about it. So yes, both contribute to it, and but in this case, I'm really dealing with the lack of understanding of how men fall prey to these things, especially young men coming up in the truth, learning about this and trying to use it to resolve certain matters. You don't have the wisdom and the experience to take up this in hand because you don't know certain depths of temptation, especially when you find yourself spitting a lot of wisdom. Naturally, a woman is going to gravitate to that, and that's something you have to first understand. Doesn't mean that she's gravitated to you, but the wisdom coming out of your mouth is natural because the nature of a woman is to be led, and then she's going to see, oh, this man can lead me. Yeah, but she doesn't get practical with that yet. That's just in theory because women go by feeling. So once they start attributing that, they're gonna be gravitated to you. So you have to get your ego out of the equation. They're all gonna do the same thing. Most of them, the unmarried women, they're gonna gravitate to power naturally. They're gonna gravitate to authority naturally. It takes nothing for them to submit themselves to that. Now a lot of us fall in these situations, so it's not to be living in the guilt of it or whatever, but it's for us to come out and understand and take that experience. and allow it to teach us all the wisdom that we need to learn from it, to not repeat it. Now, the third one, like I said, is the revenge sex. Some women like men with low standards. Some women like men with low standards because it's only with men who have low standards these things can be accomplished. Again, you're mad at your husband for whatever reason, right? No, you are so hurt, you are so angry inside, but you cannot lay your hand upon him, right? You don't want to go face to face with him physically. Your first thought is, how can I hurt him? And it's through spite by having sex with somebody else. Now you go to a man of standards, understand, he understands that, oh, you have a husband, all you want to do is, you're not attracted to me, you don't like anything about me, but you only want to use me to spite your husband, right? He's a man of the brotherhood, knowing that, no, I cannot allow this to happen. I cannot give you that luxury of a mind to do that. So he removes himself from that equation. He knows that you're only using this vessel. You have no love for him. So men with standards are naturally going to decline that offer. And some of the times they will even show you your errors, your wrongdoings. And you'll get mad at them because that's the moment you don't want to hear that, because your mind is so fixed on revenge because of the unforgiving heart. And when I say unforgiving heart, I'm not saying that you need to forgive a man and continue in the relationship, depending on what's happening in the relationship. But I'm saying that it's easier to forgive what has happened, and you can move out of the relationship based on the nature of what drove you to such anger. But you don't know how to forgive, so the revenge, the desire to take revenge is built up, is built up, is built up, and becomes so strong that now you only want to act. You cannot stop yourself. So you have to seek someone with low standards that understands that, oh, she doesn't want me. She just wants to spite that guy. And it glorifies my ego to know that, hey, I slept with his wife. And you know what? Like I said, in this case, this judgment is always swift, more swift than many other cases of adultery. This is the time the woman gets pregnant. How do you know? Go back and tell your man that, oh, we're having a baby. Yeah, but you've been angry for so long, he can barely tell when last you both even slept in the same bed. Where did this pregnancy come from? Where did this pregnancy come from? He finds it weird. He wants to do a DNA. Now what? You want to create a whole big problem because he requests, because he doesn't trust this. So now instead of dealing with the fact that, okay, you know that it's his child, he wants a DNA, then there should be no arguing. You should validate his feelings just the same way you would want your feelings to be validated. Don't try to change it, don't try to alter it. Validate his feelings and do the DNA. But because of your guilt, it has driven you to madness. And that's the result of your action. Or like I said, sometimes you end up with a toxic person a delusional person, a person who thinks he owns you, a person who now wants to attack your husband, confronts your husband, and your husband is there like, who the hell are you? I don't even know you. This guy starts showing up at your workplace, calling your work. He's under all your photos on social media, leaving comments. Now it becomes questionable to your husband. He's wondering who is this guy from nowhere? Why is he always under in your comment section? So the whole point of this is to say that adultery is for men who lacks understanding. And this is different from a case where a woman is living a double life and she's very good at it, that you don't know that she actually has a man. And this is also the downside of the visiting relationships. Instead of cleaving, we do a visiting relationship. The mindset is that he lives here, she lives here, and we see each other whenever we feel like we're missing each other or something like that. That naturally creates a distance. Instead of cohabitation, where what? You are naturally bonding. Every day is an opportunity to bond, not just building a relationship on text messages and phone calls occasionally. Bonding is into the action. You guys doing this together, doing that together constantly. It's bonding. So we oftentimes confuse a smart man versus with a wise man. What's the difference between the smart and the wise? The smart man can tell you everything, what you should do, what you should not do, what he should do, what he should not do. You know the difference with the wise man? He does what he's supposed to do and he doesn't do what he's not supposed to do. So a lot of times you see counsel, guess what? These men are smart. They will know not to do such and such. But can they restrain themselves when faced with that situation? Or can they foresee to know that, oh, it's going to head there? So what? Let me call this quits from now. Let me not put myself in this predicament. Let me not put her in this position. Let me not aid her into doing more damage to herself than what is already happening. So if she really wants to talk about the guy and whatever what's going on, how he's not listening, okay, can you arrange a meeting with me, you, and him, or other people, group that you trust, and we all can meet up and talk. Hear both sides. You express what you're saying, he will do the same, and we can come to a conclusion together. You foresee and you don't put yourself in that position. That's what a man of wisdom will do. But most of the times, you fall for a man who says what you want to hear, and you think that's a wise man. He's giving that listening ear. He's not telling you what to do, how to fix it, how to change, how to alter perceptions or feelings, nothing. He's just listening, just like a therapist. Doesn't need to do anything. You're just paying for them to listen. The only difference with this one is that you don't pay with the cash fee, you pay tribute with your body. Your first comfort of mind, you offer tribute and generosity of your body. And that's the non-verbal deal that you guys make. Men with low standards naturally lack understanding. Shalom.